Okay, now to give you another one like that, let's give you the cosine of negative 210. So again, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw I'm going to draw 210, negative 210. So back 180, all the way to there. So my reference angle this time, if I take 108 or 210 minus 180, I get 30. So again, I get one of these relationships where I get a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Now, just so that you are aware of it, those are the triangles we're going to use today. We're not going to have anything else other than you're going to see a 30, 60, 90, and you're going to see a 45, 45, 90. Those are the only triangles you're going to see. So again, the short side is 1, medium side is root 3, hypotenuse is 2. Now, when you put it in this context, it's negative root 3 because we went back into the left because we're in quadrant number 2, up 1, and then root 2. So cosine would be the adjacent side, or negative root 3, over the hypotenuse, which is 2, and that's my final answer. Okay, so that's what you're going to have for your answers for these. Okay, on the contrary, it's also going to give you stuff like cosecant of 17 pi over 6. So again, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take 180 and divide it by pi, get it as a degrees, so that I know what I'm working with. So if I take 17 times 180 divided by 6, I get 510. So I'm going to draw that angle just so I have a reference. So 510, 90, 180, 270, 360, 450. 540 is just a little short of there. So if that was 450, and this is 540, 540 minus 510 is 30. Again, same kind of triangle. We are dealing with 30, 60, 90s and 45, 45, 90s all the time. Okay, so for this particular one, cosecant, remember, is the reciprocal of the sine. Sine is the opposite side, which in this case would be 1, over the hypotenuse, which would be 2. We're not using the unit circle like I showed you guys yesterday. We're using the 30, 60, 90 relationships and the 45, 45, 90 relationships like we had a couple days ago in that chart I was telling you about. I don't remember what page it was. I think it was like 463 or something like that. But anyway, that chart is what would be used for this to help you. Okay. Oh, shoot. Oh, I did that wrong. Hold on. I'm going to back this up. This isn't the cosecant. This is the sine. So now cosecant, you would end up flipping it over, and you would end up with 2 over 1, or just 2. My fault. That's actually the sine, not the cosecant. Okay? So scratch that answer, and the answer should have been 2. So as far as finding secant, if you had 11 pi over 4, first thing I do, 180 over pi to get the pi's gone. And if I take 11 times 180 and divide it by 4, I get 495. So a 495 degree angle, 90, 180, 270, 360, 450, 495 should be somewhere in this ballpark. Looks like quadrant 2 is going to be our friend today. So my reference angle, if I take 540 minus 495, I get 45. So we're looking for a 45, 45, 90. That's what we're looking at. So there's my triangle. And a 45, 45, 90, these are 1, and this is root 2. Now, because of where it's located, if it's in quadrant 2, this one's negative 1, that's a positive 1, and that's root 2. Because we're in the quadrants because we're in those quadrants. If we're in quadrant 1, both numbers should be positive. Quadrant 2, the x-coordinate is negative and the y-coordinate is positive. So this was negative, and that's positive. If we're in quadrant 3, both of them should be negative. By the way, the hypotenuse will always be positive. And then the first one should be positive and the negative if you're down here. Now for this particular one then, since we're looking for secant, secant is the reciprocal of the cosine. Cosine was this over this. So secant, remember, is hypotenuse over adjacent. Or in this case, square root of 2 over negative 1, which is then negative root 2. That's my final answer. I do not want to see decimals out of that. You should be getting all square root problems, or a half or 1 or something like that. So you should not ever have a decimal in your answers today. Okay? That's what you're going to be asked to do for the second half of your assignment. And the last thing that you're going to need is this formula. And this formula is a distance formula. D is for distance, V is for the initial speed or velocity that the flight or the projectile is launched at, and theta is your angle. So they're going to give you an angle, they're going to give you the speed. All you have to do is plug it in and see what you get. Now when you're doing that, make sure that you are in degree mode, otherwise it will give you the wrong answer. So again, looking at your assignment, the first half of it is going to say sketch the angle and find the reference angle, which is what we did in the first 4. And then the second ones are going to say evaluate the function without using a calculator. So again, just one more of those, because the secant of 135, first of all, 135 degree angle is right here. Reference angle for that, 180 minus 135 is 45. So we're dealing with a 45, 45, 90 triangle. But because it's in this particular context, it's negative 1 here, positive 1 there, and root 2 there. Secant, again, is the hypotenuse over the adjacent. So the hypotenuse is square root of 2, the adjacent is negative 1. I end up with negative root 2, and that's my final answer. So that's what they're going to ask you to do for the last half. And then the very last one, you have a word problem where you use that formula I gave you. So it starts on page 482, goes to 483. And let's see, we are doing 16 to 32 evens and number 33. So hope that helped, and I will see you Monday.